We're here today to announce the historic success through Operation Takeback America.
What DHS uncovered isn't just a weapons stash, it's far more dangerous. After months of undercover work, federal agents stormed a building that seemed ordinary from the outside inside. They discovered a sprawling cartel weapons network capable of fueling war for years.
A Los Angeles man is under arrest after police found more than 1,000 rifles in his multi-million-dollar home yesterday.
Every corner hid surprises no one expected. Join us as we reveal how Homeland Security just exposed a cartel weapons factory on U.S. soil, a shocking discovery that no one saw coming. Heavy firearms stash in Centralia. In the early hours of October 28, 2025, a sweeping law enforcement operation unfolded across western Washington, bringing to light a heavily armed criminal network operating beneath the surface of several communities, federal and local authorities, led by Homeland Security, the Drug Enforcement Administration, and the Seattle Police Department, executed a series of coordinated raids that marked the culmination of a year-long investigation. What began as isolated leads on drug trafficking had evolved into a complex case linking narcotics, firearms, and organized crime across multiple counties. 10 suspects were taken into custody, spanning areas from Linwood and Everett to Sammamish in Centralia. Investigators identified them as members of a transnational criminal organization trafficking firearms alongside fentanyl, methamphetamine, heroin, and cocaine. Among those indicted were 25-year-old Luis Humberto Lamas Guzman, 44-year-old Eduardo Villavicencio Salido, and 35-year-old Silvestre Ramos Martinez, all facing federal conspiracy charges. Additional arrests were made on criminal complaints, including 30-year-old Jose Isabel Sandoval Zuniga, whose role would later prove central to the case, along with 56-year-old Ronnie Licona Escoto and 33-year-old Edgar Rivas Robles. Authorities executed search warrants at 12 locations across the region. One property in Centralia, linked to Sandoval Zuniga, revealed the depth of the organization's reach. Inside a seemingly vacant site, agents discovered a vast stockpile of narcotics and weapons, roughly 25 kilograms of suspected fentanyl powder, more than 90,000 fentanyl pills, and 24 firearms. Zuniga was intercepted while driving, with an additional 1.6 kilograms of fentanyl in his vehicle. A subsequent search of his Sammamish home uncovered heroin, more fentanyl, and a loaded .45 caliber semi-automatic pistol. The weapons seized extended far beyond standard handguns. Among the 34 firearms recovered in total were assault-style rifles and other high-capacity weapons designed for sustained fire. Each piece represented the potential for catastrophic violence. Investigators described the organization as an escalating threat, capable of spreading both lethal narcotics and powerful weaponry across counties stretching from Lewis to Snohomish. Law enforcement mobilized a wide range of resources to counter this organization linked to the cartel. SWAT teams from Seattle, North Sound Metro, Snohomish County, and King County joined forces with specialized units from the Washington State Patrol and Centralia Police Department Customs and Border Protection deployed BORTAC units, while the IRS Criminal Investigation Division assisted in tracking financial transactions tied to the network's broader operations. Roughly $40,000 in cash was also recovered, small compared to the street value of the narcotics, but crucial in tracing the organization's money flow. The investigation revealed a tightly woven network that operated across borders, blending local distribution with transnational logistics. According to a press release from the U.S. Attorney's Office in Seattle, this case was part of Operation Takeback America, a Department of Justice initiative aimed at dismantling cartel networks and curbing illegal immigration. As shocking as it may seem, this is only one in a series of major gun trafficking busts that have shaken authorities across the nation this year. Georgia Underground Network. On May 9th, 2025, federal and city authorities announced the arrest of 31-year-old David Morris, accused of moving 47 firearms and large quantities of ammunition from Georgia to Lower Manhattan. His capture came after a weeks-long undercover sting in which he allegedly sold 17 guns and cocaine to officers posing as buyers. Investigators say the case exposed a growing stream of illegal weapons flowing into New York City through southern trafficking routes. The joint operation, led by Homeland Security, the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, and the NYPD, was part of an ongoing effort to shut down these channels before they reached the criminal networks that control the streets. Court filings reveal that between March 28th and May 9th, Morris conducted multiple sales near Catherine Slip and South Street in Lower Manhattan. He allegedly transported the firearms from Georgia, claiming to work with a network of partners and boasting of nearly a decade in the gun trade. Investigators say he also claimed access to machine gun conversion kits, devices capable of turning semi-automatic pistols into fully automatic weapons. So far, agents have reported 14 related arrests. 9 of those detained were in the country illegally, while the rest were U.S. citizens accused of helping funnel weapons to Mexican drug cartels. Authorities displayed over 200 high-powered firearms seized in Georgia, including handguns, assault rifles, squad automatic weapons, and even a .50 caliber machine gun. The total cash, officials said, was valued at over $250,000. The investigation also uncovered evidence of narcotics trafficking. On April 18th, Morris allegedly provided an undercover officer with a sample of cocaine weeks. Later, on May 9th, he reportedly sold several baggies of the same substance under surveillance. Each transaction was recorded and documented in the case. Federal agents explained that cartels often use profits from methamphetamine and fentanyl sales in the United States to buy firearms, frequently from American citizens who purchased them legally. While most Americans recognize the flow of illegal drugs into the country, fewer realize that a parallel trade sends U.S. weapons south, arming the cartels behind the violence in Mexico. According to investigators, the guns seized in this operation were legally bought before being smuggled out and modified for combat use. Once converted to fully automatic fire, these weapons become tools of warfare used in brutal clashes against rival factions and law enforcement. Authorities have withheld the names of those arrested as the investigation continues. Morris faces 3 federal charges: unlicensed dealing of firearms, carrying up to 5 years in prison, firearms trafficking, punishable by up to 15 years, and using or carrying a firearm in furtherance of drug trafficking, which carries a mandatory minimum of 5 years and a potential life sentence. The case is being prosecuted by the Violent and Organized Crime Unit of the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York, with Assistant U.S. Attorney Catherine Wheelock leading the effort. Federal agents have not only been tracing illegal firearm networks across the nation, but they have also extended their reach to the southern border, now a hotspot for some of the most intense cartel activity ever recorded. Hidden arsenal on the border. At the Laredo border crossing in Texas, what began as a routine inspection became a pivotal federal operation. Customs and Border Protection officers stopped 2 tractor trailers attempting to cross the bridge and uncovered an extraordinary-scale smuggling effort. Inside concealed compartments lay nearly 400 firearms and thousands of rounds of ammunition, evidence of a sophisticated network built to arm criminal organizations beyond the border. The drivers, Emilio Ramirez Cortez, a lawful U.S. permanent resident, and his son, Edgar Ramirez Diaz, a U.S. citizen, were arrested after agents noticed subtle irregularities in the trailer's panels. The hidden chambers had been engineered to evade detection, revealing deep knowledge of inspection routines and federal enforcement systems. What appeared to be ordinary commercial vehicles had been transformed into covert transport systems, capable of moving large quantities of contraband with precision. Investigators determined that the weapons were intended for Mexican cartels, not for personal defense or local sale. The mix of rifles and ammunition indicated preparation for organized conflict, providing cartels with the firepower needed to control territories, intimidate rivals, and challenge authorities. Each firearm represented an escalation in an ongoing cycle of violence. The seizure exposed the level of planning behind cross-border smuggling. The compartments were expertly constructed, the timing deliberate, and the drivers chosen for their perceived legitimacy. Individuals with citizenship or legal residency are often selected to reduce suspicion, blending into regular trade activity while serving as trusted transporters for criminal operations. Federal analysts linked the shipment to broader cartel trade routes. Weapons flowing south are typically exchanged for narcotics or cash moving north, forming a self-sustaining cycle that fuels both sides of the border economy. Each interception reveals another layer of this system, an exchange built on logistics, corruption, and profit. Every firearm seized was cataloged and traced to identify supply sources and prior shipments. The volume suggested an operation capable of supporting sustained cartel activity, providing crucial evidence for mapping connections across multiple trafficking routes. The discovery also shows how adaptable cartels have become. By modifying commercial vehicles and exploiting routine crossings, they conceal large shipments within legitimate trade patterns. Familiarity with border procedures allows them to blend in, making their movements difficult to distinguish from lawful commerce until a careful inspection exposes the deception. For federal agencies, the message was unmistakable. The Laredo interception proved that large-scale smuggling isn't the work of chance, but part of a continuous, coordinated network. Just days before that seizure, federal authorities had intensified their crackdown on one of the world's most dangerous criminal organizations, the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, better known as CJNG. DEA strikes at the cartel network. Over the final week of September, federal agents launched one of the most concentrated operations ever mounted against the Jalisco New Generation Cartel between September 22nd and 26th. The Drug Enforcement Administration led an unprecedented surge spanning 23 U.S. field divisions and 7 foreign regions. The mission was not limited to arresting dealers or intercepting shipments. It was designed to strike at every layer of the cartel's global infrastructure, its leaders, logisticians, financiers, and enforcers alike. In just 5 days, agents executed hundreds of synchronized raids, leading to 670 arrests across multiple states and international jurisdictions. Those detained included key members responsible for coordinating production, transportation, and money laundering. Each arrest represented a piece of a larger system coming undone, the result of months of surveillance, intelligence sharing, and coordinated timing. The seizures revealed the staggering scale of CJNG's operation. 92 kilograms of fentanyl powder and more than 1.1 million counterfeit fentanyl pills were taken off the market, alongside over 6,000 kilograms of methamphetamine, nearly 23,000 kilograms of cocaine, and 33 kilograms of heroin. Each batch represented a severed supply chain, one that could have devastated communities nationwide. Agents also recovered 244 firearms, including high-powered rifles and handguns used by cartel operatives to enforce control, intimidate rivals, and resist law enforcement. Every confiscated weapon stripped the organization of another instrument of violence and underscored the militarized nature of cartel operations. Beyond drugs and weapons, the operation struck at the cartel's financial foundation. Agents seized over $18 million in cash and nearly $30 million in assets, including homes, vehicles, and properties used to launder and store illicit profits. These financial takedowns cut deep, choking the revenue streams that sustain CJNG's production and distribution networks. The DEA's campaign against CJNG came on the heels of another major offensive against the Sinaloa cartel earlier that month. That operation yielded similarly vast seizures. Hundreds of kilograms of fentanyl, thousands of counterfeit pills, and tons of cocaine and methamphetamine. Authorities also confiscated millions in cash and more than 400 firearms. Together, the twin operations illustrated the scale and persistence of the cartel threat, and the government's growing reliance on coordinated, nationwide crackdowns to counter it. Despite the success of recent raids, officials remain cautious. Cartels adapt quickly, shifting routes, rebuilding labs, and using advanced technology to stay one step ahead of enforcement. In response, the U.S. government launched a specialized operation aimed at dismantling the cartels and eradicating their influence within the United States. Operation Takeback America. In early 2025, the U.S. enforcement strategy underwent a decisive shift with the designation of CJNG and 7 other Mexican cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. This classification expanded federal authority, enabling prosecutors and investigators to pursue cartel leadership, financiers, and international facilitators under counterterrorism statutes. This strategic approach aligned with the nationwide initiative, Operation Takeback America, a cornerstone in the Department of Justice's campaign to dismantle heavily armed criminal networks. By coordinating federal, state, and local law enforcement resources, the program enables large-scale investigations and raids targeting both drug and firearms trafficking. Over the past year, the operation exposed the scale and sophistication of these networks. Across multiple states, investigators uncovered stockpiles of firearms ranging from semi-automatic pistols to high-powered rifles, often intended for resale or distribution alongside narcotics. Investigations consistently revealed a dual threat pattern: criminal organizations combining drug trafficking with weapons distribution, creating intertwined risks to public safety. By targeting these networks, authorities simultaneously disrupt the flow of dangerous drugs and intercept firearms before they reach city streets. The operation also showed advanced concealment techniques. Weapons were often hidden in false walls, underground compartments, and vehicles modified to carry contraband. In one Washington stash house, investigators recovered more than 24 firearms, including high-caliber rifles and fully operational semi-automatics, alongside narcotics. The complexity of these storage methods demonstrated both deliberate planning and intimate knowledge of law enforcement protocols, signaling an industrial-level approach to a criminal enterprise. Coordination extended to cross-border interventions as well. Federal and local agencies intercepted vehicles transporting weapons and drugs intended for international markets. Many of these shipments were concealed in hidden compartments or disguised as legitimate cargo. Intelligence from these seizures fed back into Operation Takeback America, allowing authorities to anticipate trafficking methods, map smuggling routes, and adapt enforcement strategies to the evolving threat landscape. The operation repeatedly revealed the scale of firearms trafficking within these networks. High-powered rifles, semi-automatic pistols, and other firearms are systematically acquired, stored, and distributed to maximize both operational capacity and financial gain. These patterns confirmed the industrialized, organized nature of criminal networks, far surpassing street-level activity. As the feds tightened the noose on cartel weapons networks, the criminals were pushed to use their most secretive smuggling corridors, routes historically reserved for massive drug shipment. For the first time, federal agents have stumbled upon these high-stakes pathways. The Arizona Supertunnel. In late June 2025, U.S. authorities uncovered a smuggling tunnel near Yuma, Arizona, that redefined the scale and sophistication of border trafficking, stretching nearly 2,900 feet, over half a mile, and plunging 50 feet underground. The tunnel was not a crude passage, but a meticulously engineered corridor, astonishing investigators with its precision and complexity. Unlike previous tunnels, this structure featured reinforced steel walls, fully functional lighting and ventilation, and a rail system capable of efficiently transporting goods. Its design resembled a miniature subway, with symmetrical construction and careful attention to structural integrity. The breakthrough came when aerial drones detected faint heat signatures beneath the desert surface. Infrared imaging revealed a linear anomaly, prompting ground teams to deploy radar scanners, which confirmed the presence of a subterranean passage. Excavation exposed a reinforced shaft leading into a vast underground corridor, unparalleled in its scale and technical execution. Authorities responded immediately, sealing a 5-mile stretch of the Arizona-Mexico border and halting all movement in the area. Official crossings and informal routes alike were temporarily closed. While drones and helicopters monitored the scene from above, residents were evacuated as canine units searched for secondary exits or hidden stash points. Investigators feared that if one tunnel of this magnitude existed, others could already be operational. Experts marveled at the engineering. Yuma's sandy soil is notoriously unstable, yet the tunnel remained intact, fully equipped with electricity, water, and air circulation. The construction demonstrated advanced planning, skilled labor, and long-term vision, making it the most sophisticated underground smuggling operation ever discovered in the region. Building such a tunnel requires months of dangerous labor, often by coerced or underpaid workers, yet the financial payoff for a single successful shipment can be enormous. Intelligence linked the tunnel to the Sinaloa cartel, with intercepted communications referring to deeper digging and no surface windows, indicating awareness of aerial surveillance and drone detection. Investigators concluded that highly skilled mining and construction professionals are likely being recruited to design tunnels built to endure for years. After painstaking mapping, U.S. engineers poured concrete into the Yuma Supertunnel, a precision operation monitored by drones to ensure the ground above remained intact. When the last section was set, the tunnel was permanently sealed. But its very discovery shook Washington, revealing the staggering scale of cartel innovation and the fragility of America's border security. How extensive was this underground labyrinth, and what secrets did it hold? Multi-agency crackdown. Following the discovery and mapping of the Yuma Tunnel, U.S. authorities launched one of the largest coordinated border operations in recent memory. The campaign resulted in 62 arrests and the seizure of over 4 tons of cocaine and over 100 firearms, marking a significant victory against cross-border smuggling. The success reflected months of surveillance, intelligence gathering, and joint planning among multiple agencies committed to dismantling one of the most sophisticated trafficking networks ever established along the U.S.-Mexico border. The operation brought together the DEA, CBP, HSI, ICE, and Arizona law enforcement, while Mexican federal police secured the tunnel's entrance near San Luis Rio, Colorado. Simultaneous raids on both sides of the border prevented any suspect from escaping through the tunnel or nearby stash points. Investigators located the U.S. exit beneath the concrete floor of an industrial warehouse near Yuma, revealing concealed compartments, loading bays, and drive-in access points designed for trucks to move cargo undetected. The site was clearly constructed as a central smuggling hub. During the raids, agents intercepted several vehicles leaving the area, tracing them back to the warehouse and the tunnel's entry shaft. Although the passage was not fully operational, investigators found large caches of narcotics already staged for transport. In total, authorities seized more than 8,000 pounds of cocaine, alongside smaller quantities of methamphetamine, fentanyl, and heroin. Millions of dollars in cash and several firearms were also recovered. The bust ranked among Arizona's largest in history and confirmed that the tunnel functioned as a central artery for cartel shipments into the United States. Those arrested included cartel operators, warehouse managers, drivers, and coordinators affiliated with the Sinaloa cartel, the dominant force behind Arizona's smuggling corridors. Several suspects were U.S. citizens recruited for their construction and logistics expertise, helping to disguise the tunnel's true purpose. The Yuma Tunnel's sophistication surpassed previous discoveries, including the 1,700-foot Otay Mesa Passage in California, signaling a geographic shift in cartel operations from California into Arizona's desert. Agents who entered the tunnel described it as fortified and deliberate, with reinforced walls, powered lighting, and multiple emergency exits. Booby traps and barricades slowed intrusion, underscoring the structure's durability and secrecy. Every element of its construction reflected careful planning on a scale rarely seen in domestic smuggling operations. The 62 arrests were part of a broader crackdown on the Sinaloa cartel. Just months earlier, a nationwide DEA surge had netted more than 600 suspects and seized thousands of kilograms of narcotics. The Yuma case, however, stood out for its precision, targeting the infrastructure that enabled bulk smuggling rather than fragmented deliveries. The operation exposed the cartel's evolving strategy of moving mass shipments through fortified tunnels designed to bypass surface security entirely. Investigators also noted the broader criminal potential of such tunnels. They can facilitate human trafficking, arms smuggling, and the movement of other illicit goods. Footage from June revealed migrants, including children, being moved through cartel tunnels, demonstrating the multiple criminal purposes these underground networks serve. The Yuma raid required exhaustive coordination. Agents tracked cartel affiliates for days, mapping routines and monitoring communications. Once intelligence indicated the right moment, simultaneous warrants were executed at the warehouse, stash houses, and transport vehicles. Within hours, dozens were in custody, and the operation shut down before the smugglers could scatter. Prosecutors have since charged suspects with conspiracy, trafficking, and money laundering. Authorities cautioned that many tunnels remain undiscovered. Cartels often construct decoys or abandon false shafts to mislead investigators, forcing U.S. agencies into a constant race against time. The Yuma seizure struck a major financial blow, but cocaine production and arms smuggling in South America continue unabated. Even more shocking, the cartels are not only trafficking and retrofitting firearms, they are constructing submarines to fuel their military-grade operations, making the ultimate narco sub. Narco submarines have redefined maritime smuggling, diverging sharply from conventional naval vessels. Unlike steel-built submarines, these craft are constructed from fiberglass, a lightweight material that makes them cheaper to build and easier to assemble in remote locations far from traditional shipyards. Propulsion typically comes from a diesel engine, while an onboard generator powers essential systems, including a camera mounted on the snorkel that allows the crew to monitor the surface while riding nearly submerged ballast tanks enable rapid flooding, letting the vessel dive deeper when danger approaches. Despite extremely confined quarters, the interior is equipped with basic comforts, including a small toilet and sink, allowing the crew to endure long, tense voyages. A single snorkel submarine can carry up to 8 tons of cocaine, traveling thousands of kilometers from Colombia to Mexico, or even more distant destinations. Although few have been intercepted at sea, many have been seized on land, highlighting their operational success. Construction occurs in hidden jungle workshops, where specialist craftsmen known as master builders leave unique signatures in the hull and internal systems, marking each vessel with a personal design fingerprint. In November 2020, authorities discovered a new class of narco submarine, fully submersible, approximately 12 meters long, powered not by diesel but by a 10-ton battery pack driving 2 electric motors. This model, the peak of recent innovation and valued at roughly $1.5 million, uses dive planes to control depth, operates for about 12 hours, and moves at 5 kilometers per hour, covering approximately 60 kilometers. Its design allows it to be towed behind a larger vessel for long transits, then detached to continue silently toward shore, making it extremely difficult to detect. The only example found to date was discovered on land in the jungle. The evolution of narco subs was dramatically illustrated during Operation Orion in 2024, when authorities intercepted a vessel that had crossed the Pacific, covering more than 10,000 miles en route to Australia. This unprecedented journey revealed the emergence of ultra-long smuggling routes and the global reach of these clandestine operations. In response, governments have adapted patrol strategies, incorporating thermal imaging, drones, and AI-driven pattern recognition to detect faint heat signatures and subtle wakes. Despite these advances, the challenge remains immense. For every submarine seized, 3 to 4 make it to shore, fueling a global drug trade that also relies on an expanding fleet of military-grade vehicles. New generation go-fasts. Drug traffickers now operate a maritime fleet that resembles a small navy, combining blistering surface craft with silent submerged vessels to outpace and outwit authorities. The classic go-fast measures about 30 feet long and typically mounts 3 or 4 250 horsepower outboard engines, a setup that can push the boat beyond 80 miles per hour and make pursuit on the water nearly impossible. Designed to ride low and painted a muted ocean blue, these boats carry a single driver and extra fuel tanks that hold up to 2,000 gallons, giving them the range to run routes of more than 500 miles between departure points and drop zones. Their lineage traces back to Prohibition-era rum runners, whose fast, low silhouettes were later modernized with contemporary engines and electronics for the transnational drug trade. To confront the speed threat, the U.S. Coast Guard created hit-run teams that deploy MH-65 Dolphin helicopters, armed and trained to disable targets at range with precision shots that stop engines while minimizing risk to crews and bystanders. Smugglers responded by masking go-fasts as ordinary fishing boats, fitting fake gear and installing concealed compartments below the waterline, so casual inspections reveal nothing. Other operators favor hybrid low-profile craft that sacrifice top speed for stealth. Riding so low they show only a narrow spine above the waveline, are painted to match the sea, and use materials and shapes that reduce radar returns, while moving at roughly 30 miles per hour. With high-speed surface runners and covert submarines working in parallel, traffickers force enforcement agencies to divide resources and adapt constantly, maintaining a fluid, two-pronged campaign that complicates interdiction efforts. Thanks for watching. Now check out the videos popping up on screen for more unbelievable stories.